All right, everybody, you saw the title, so I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into it. This fire kit is all contained inside of just a small little tin, which obviously you can see from the outside I've used to char material. And that is exactly why I chose to use something like this, because it's going to be used for the same thing. Some of the contents that you'll see inside once I open it up are going to be used to char inside of this container as well. But let me go ahead and just jump right into it. And right off the bat, you'll see right here on top is a piece of that material. And this is to keep everything kind of compressed and in place. But it's also, like I said, to be able to use to char material. This is just a small piece of a 100% cotton t-shirt that was just really old and kind of falling apart. So I just kind of turned it into that. So a piece of that right off of the bat, right on the top. And I have a few of these pieces in here, as you'll see. For instance, here's another piece. And these are all in here to kind of keep things from clanking around too much. But again, to be able to use as material that I'm going to be able to char to replenish my char material, which is in this small container. And the reason I keep that in here is so as to not, make a mess of everything, having this char cloth break apart and get all over everything, but really just that as well, so it doesn't really, get too destroyed by everything kind of rubbing against it, and eventually over time your char cloth will end up just being a big mess of powder in here, basically. So I keep it in here, but also on the top of that, keeping all of that contained, there's the char material, just some 100% cotton material. But on the top here, what I have in this small little pouch is just a small magnification lens for solar ignition. So I keep that in there right on the top. Keeps this protected inside of that container as well. And right next to that, in this small little pouch, is just some quick fire tenders, some fire tabs from Coughlin's. So I keep these in this small little pouch, and then also in a small Ziploc, because they do have accelerant on them and things like that. So I keep 3 of those in there, just a really quick way to start a fire. And in my opinion, these should be something like this. It doesn't have to be the Coughlin's. A lot of times I'll use the Mini Infernos by Self-Reliance Outfitters. Any kind of quick fire tab, something that you're going to be able to get a fire going quickly without having to gather any resources. You have something right there that's going to be waterproof, that you're going to be able to get a fire going just like that if you were to ever need it. And again, in my opinion, you should have something like that in every kit. So that's in there. And right next to that is just a small little container that I have some matches in. I think there's probably maybe 20 matches in there or something. And on the outside is just some Gorilla Tape, which Gorilla Tape obviously is going to be something that is multifunctional. You can use it to repair a hole in your tarp, which I actually just recently got in a pinch. And but also really the main reason it's going to be in here is just another form of tinder. You can break this Gorilla Tape apart, expose those small little tiny fibers in there, and it'll take a spark from a ferro rod. Obviously you could light it with your lighter or a match or something like that, but you'll get a long burn time out of that. So that's there. And right next to that, to go along with the char cloth, and obviously my flint and steel, so you'll see that I have a steel striker in here. I'll pull that out in just a second. Wrapped up inside of these are just 2 small little pieces of chert. So I keep those wrapped up so they're not kind of clanking around in there and things like that. So just 2 of those. And again, some more material that I'll be able to char if I needed to replenish this whenever I use that. And just 1 more for good measure, keeping everything down there on the bottom nice and contained. And obviously Just a small little Bic lighter, instant gratification with the flame, go-to for any kind of an emergency if you needed to get a fire going quickly. I'm not going to be messing around with trying to light a fire with solar ignition or anything like that. This is in here just a very quick way to get an open flame. And then right next to that, with down here on the bottom, its own designated striker, is just a small little ferro rod with some more Gorilla Tape on one end. And I keep a little designated striker in there. It doesn't take any room. It's just a flat little piece with a real sharp 90-degree spine. Works really well with this small ferro rod. And so I'm not, you know, everything's just right here, nice and contained. And I like that about a small kit like this, to just have all of the things that I'm going to need in it. So down here on the bottom is my steel striker, and this thing the sparks just shoot off of this one. So that's going to work in conjunction, obviously, with my flint and steel set, charred material, things like that. But this thing just, I mean, the sparks just fly off. I don't know, you know, how well you can see that, but I really love that striker. So that's in there. A couple pieces of fat wood. Going to be able to, obviously, I can scrape with the spine of my knife. I could scrape some shavings off of this to use as a tinder source as well. Keep a flame going for a pretty long time. And let's see, got a wrapped up around the inside here, just a piece of lamp wick charred on one end, which will take a spark from the flint and steel. And obviously you could char this as well. Another piece of material that you'd be able to char, 100% cotton. Steel wool, another thing that's going to be multifunctional, but mainly for the fire kit. This is going to be something that will take a spark very easily, and you could use this to put into a bird's nest or a tinder bundle. If everything failed in here for some crazy reason, you could even use the battery from your headlamp, which my headlamps that I carry, I usually use headlamps that use batteries, a AA or a AAA, something like that. But you could get a fire going that way. Obviously, you could use it for other things if you needed to scrub something out of your pot or whatever the case is. Just always nice to have, even in a fire kit. So that's in there. And speaking of bird's nests, tinder bundles, that's what this is going to be in here for. This is going to be something that I'm not going to have to look around for any resources. If I couldn't find some dry material, I always have some right here in the kit that I could put together a quick bird's nest tinder bundle in order to help me get a fire going. So I always keep some of this pretty much in every kit, every fire kit that I have, especially a flint and steel kit. So that's in there. And last but not least, in the bottom is just one of these small little pocket fire bellows. And these things are awesome to have. It just kind of extends out. And this is going to be something that you can add oxygen to your fire to get it going. If you wanted to set your tinder bundle down, your bird's nest, you could use this so you didn't have to hold it in your hand. You could use this to blow some air into it, some oxygen, add some oxygen to it. And really, for me, this is something that in the morning, if I still have a nice hot bed of coals, I could just toss some small twigs, some kind of tinder, some dry material or something, blow into this a little bit, add a little bit of oxygen to those coals, and you'll have your fire going just like that the next morning. So these things are really nice to have in a fire kit, and I have them in several of my fire kits. Sometimes I even carry one in my pocket, but really nice to have. So that's about it, guys. This is just a small little fire kit that I believe would be really just a long-term type fire kit if you needed it to be, but nice and contained in this small little char tin. And yeah, so if you guys have any suggestions, things that you would add, things that you keep in your fire kit that you don't see here, leave that in the comment section below. And if this is the type of content that you like, if you like this video, please do me a favor and give it a thumbs up. and subscribe if you haven't done that. I'd greatly appreciate that. But yeah, as far as my fire kit goes, this is it. And mind you, I have a lot of different fire kits, but I really like how this fire kit is put together. And I wanted to say really quickly too, if you add this with something like some kind of a tinder pouch that you have some tinder in, you're going to be golden. This has some more fat wood in it, some birch bark, and some just other dried type materials that I could be able to put together just multiple birds' nests, things like that. But if you pair that with something like this, you're going to be great for a while. And honestly, these are things that, you know, I enjoy practicing different ways of starting fire and things like that. Obviously, you know, you can get a fire going with any one of these things by itself, but having a nice, well thought out, well put together fire kit, I believe, is absolutely essential if you're going out into the woods. So again, do me that favor, hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on the next video. God bless. You guys have a great day.